Today is the 14th of November and it's Gary Vaynerchuk's birthday. So Gary, if you're watching this video, I wish you a happy birthday. So today Gary released an entire document that shows his content strategy. And at first I was just so mind blown with it because he says if you want to build a successful business in the long term, you need to produce at least 100 pieces of content per day. And he shows you how you can produce 64 pieces of content a day. But after reading this entire document, I don't think that this is a good idea for most people. And yes, Gary himself is very successful and this clearly works for him, but you also have to realize that he has an entire team of people making all this content for him. So for the average person or the average business owner, this simply will not work. Even though this works in theory, if you don't apply it and if you don't do this on a regular basis with consistency, then what's the point, right? I mean, you can produce 100 pieces of content for one day, maybe 2 days, but what about like an entire year or many years to come? This simply will not work if you can't keep up with it. And you also have to consider that as a business, creating content is just part of the game. It's extremely important to create content these days simply because it's the ultimate way of attracting the right people into your business and building a brand. But that's just one part of the business, which is known as the top of the funnel. And the top of the funnel is basically when you start attracting people towards your business. People who don't know who you are made aware of who you are, and then you can also offer your products and services to sell to them. But even within the sales funnel, there's other components. There's the top of the funnel, there's the middle of the funnel, which is again a different kind of content in which you try to show people or give people more information about your products or services that you do not typically give out in your initial stages when people first come in contact with you. And then of course you have the bottom of the funnel, which is your sales. And without sales, there simply is no business. How many influencers do you know online right now that have a very good following, a very good engagement, but they still don't really have a solid business? And you have so many other components to your business, like your entire business management and operations. So for most small businesses, even if you have a decent team, it's very hard to produce these pieces of content. Now, one thing I really like about Gary's document is that he wants to take away the pressure of creating quality content all the time. And I completely agree with that. He says the quality is not really the production quality, it's the quality of your message, how well you provide value to your audience, how well you connect with them. But at the same time, in the document, you will see that he even counts things like a tweet to be a piece of content. And I'm sorry, but I just have to disagree with Gary over here because I don't consider someone tweeting to be a content creator. I think to be a content creator and the content creation process requires a little bit more effort. So if you're just making a tweet or if you're just taking a selfie picture, then I don't really think that's quality content. But if you're putting effort into it in terms of understanding who your audience is and then putting effort in terms of creating the content, whether you want to create content in the form of a video, a podcast, a blog article, then that's something I consider to be a piece of content. Whereas a tweet is simply an update, or it could even be a way of distributing your content. So what is the solution? As a busy person, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner who actually has to run an entire business, and you also have to see some sort of ROI from your content, whether it's in the short term in the form of sales or in the long term in terms of building a brand. What is the solution? How much content should you actually produce, and what types of content should you produce? And to do this, I'm a huge fan of the 80-20 rule. And I've talked about this rule so many times on my channel, whether I'm talking about fitness, whether I'm talking about business. The 80-20 rule is simply this, that 80% of your results will come from 20% of the efforts that you put in. So for you and your business, you have to determine the marketing channel that's going to bring you 80% of the result. And for most people, I recommend a YouTube video because YouTube is the largest website in the world in terms of active users. It's also the second largest search engine in the world, where most people go there to search for content, and this is your opportunity to supply them with the relevant content and build up your brand. And if you think about it, the biggest influencers today are all YouTube first, and this is nothing new. Even if you look at the time before YouTube, the biggest celebrities in the world have always been movie stars or TV stars. You rarely ever hear of someone being a celebrity for being a good author or a good radio show host or anything like that. Now, when it comes to frequency of content, it depends upon you and what you're trying to do, and also what your audience wants. And even in terms of traditional video comes in so many different formats. You have some movies that come out every few years, so people have to wait for that, but then the production quality is very high. Then you also have TV shows that come out once a week. You have daily shows, you have live shows, so there's a whole range of content that you can produce, but you have to see what you can produce on a regular basis and what your audience ultimately wants. I recommend producing one video a week on YouTube, and this is known as your pillar piece of content. And taking this one piece of content, you can do something that is known as repurposing. So how do you do it? Create one decent YouTube video per week. And what I mean by that is just make sure that the production quality is not like extremely terrible, meaning you have good audio, the video is good enough, meaning even if it's a video that you filmed on your iPhone, that's also good enough. Just make sure you have good audio, and also make sure that your message that you're communicating with your audience is very clear and it speaks directly to your audience. Ideally, you want to create something that solves one of their problems or answers some sort of question that they have. Next, once you have this video, you can edit the video yourself, or you can outsource this whole process. Then when you get an entire video, I recommend that you make a video that's at least 5 to 10 minutes long, because that's a good length for YouTube. If you can go longer, that's fine as well, but try not to go under 5 minutes. So that's your primary channel, which is your pillar piece of content. Then I recommend picking another 1 to 2 secondary channels where your audience is likely to be. So you gotta do some market research on your end, but identify where your audience is and how you can repurpose that main video, the pillar piece of content, and share it on those platforms where your audience is likely to see it. So for example, with my business, YouTube is my #1 channel or my primary channel, but because I'm producing video content on YouTube, I'm also gonna be sharing that on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn has a time limit of 10 minutes for the video, and I'm also gonna start using TikTok, because moving forward in 2020 and beyond, it seems like LinkedIn and TikTok are two really solid platforms for organic reach, and I'm trying to reach a kind of a B2B audience to build up my marketing agency, but I'm also trying to inspire a younger generation of people who have struggled with what I've struggled with my life. So that's just a passion of mine. So that's why I'm focusing on these two platforms, which have a good organic reach and are video-based platforms. And I'm gonna be sharing clips from videos that I've already made. So there's no extra effort in creation. Now, if you have extra time, you can also share the video across any social media network. And the good news is that literally all social media networks in 2020 and beyond are focusing on video. Whether you look at Facebook, Instagram, IGTV, Snapchat, or any of the platforms, they're all very heavily video-based platforms. So you can repurpose your main video, pick out the best parts and share it, or natively upload it to any of these platforms. Now, when you master this, you can take this a step further. And again, going back to the 80-20 rule, 20% of the work you do will already get you 80% there. So all of this is very optional. And if you wanted to get the other 20% results, then you're gonna have to put in 80% of the work. So keep in mind how much time you actually have to invest in this. So the next step is you can start repurposing that video content into different formats. Let's say your video has very good audio, or audio quality is pretty good, then you can extract the audio files and share it as a podcast. And podcasting is so easy these days. In fact, you don't even need any fancy equipment. All you need is to download an app called Anchor on your phone. And Anchor allows you to upload and distribute your podcast across all these different platforms like iTunes and all these other online publishing platforms. Then what you can do is, if you wanted to tap into text-based content, you can easily transcribe your entire video into text using a tool like Rev. This is what we use in our business, and we also use this with our clients. And I'll leave a link to that in the description below. Or you can hire a virtual assistant who can do this professionally for you as well. So you just give them the video, which is your content, and they can convert it into a well-formatted blog post for you. You can also use this text-based content to share it as an email newsletter. So there's another option for you. Now, the fourth type of content that you can repurpose a video into is an image-based format. And images can be anything from pictures to infographics to even like slides or slideshow presentations. So you can take that one video, and let's say your video is talking about 5 ways to lose weight. Then you can make an infographic out of it. List out the 5 points and share that infographic on platforms like Instagram or Pinterest, embed them in your blog post, and there's many other options like that. Or you can convert that video into slides, and then you can share the slide as a PowerPoint presentation, or even upload it on LinkedIn as a SlideShare presentation. So now you see, you created one piece of original content and you can repurpose it and reformat it into so many platforms. So that video is gonna be the 20% that's going to give you 80% of the results, especially if you know how to optimize that video. Let's say if you don't have time to do any of those things, any of the distribution of the content, the repurposing, and you only wanted to focus on YouTube. Lots of people have seen success just by doing this. So master this one platform, which is YouTube. And what I mean by that is really nail down things like your communication in front of the camera, your editing skills, how you optimize the video on the platform. So make sure you upload the videos in the correct way. Make sure that your titles, your thumbnails are on point. Make sure that you're using some sort of keyword research or SEO so that you get some search traffic that way. So there's many things you can do on this one platform alone. And I'm so confident that you can easily build up a personal brand if you just focus on this one thing. And then if you have more time, then you can start redistributing or repurposing that content across all these different networks that I talked about. And repurposing the content and social media, all that can be easily outsourced. If you want to learn how, I'm gonna make more videos on this channel, so make sure to subscribe if you don't want to miss that. Or you can hire my agency at Growth, where we specialize in exactly this. We can help you create content across any channel that you want, and it's a done for you solution where you don't even have to worry about anything. You just have to film yourself in front of the video, because that's something that only you can do, and that's part of your personal brand. But then all the other headache that goes into editing the videos and cutting it up and distributing across different platforms is not something that you should be doing as a content creator or a business owner. And one final point that I'll make, and this is where me and Gary would disagree, is that there is some value in building up anticipation for your content versus just putting your content in people's faces all the time. Because what's going to happen is that's going to cause burnout, not just as a creator, but even as a consumer. You can only consume so much information, and especially in this day and age where the consumption of information is limitless. You even consume things that you don't really want to simply because it shows up in your feed. So it's like at some point it only becomes noise, and people don't even anticipate your content anymore. Whereas, if it's, let's say it's a movie, right? It's the next Star Wars movie. You actually wait a couple of years for it to come out, right? So the movie is building up anticipation, and there is some value in that. And I see a lot of popular YouTubers who only produce videos once in a while. They're very highly produced, but they build up that anticipation. While that's going to help you attract more and more people, because you're simply mass distributing your content, right? So that's going to help you build up your brand and help you attract more people. But what about the people who already know about you? right? They're gonna have a bit of a burnout, and you're gonna have a bit of a churn, and you're gonna start losing active followers because of it. But I highly recommend that you check out Gary's entire slide deck. Him and his team have clearly put in a lot of work when it comes to creating the slide deck. So maybe go through it, maybe you'll get one or two ideas that you can start implementing right away. But that's not the way I would recommend it for most people, at least in the long term. And especially if you're a beginner or a relatively new content creator or a small business owner, because it's gonna be impossible for you to keep up with this for a long time. So let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Do you agree with me, or do you think Gary is right? And do you think that approach is what everyone should use? Let me know. I'm open to ideas, and let's have a discussion down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.